and a gardener sometimes in a strange land. Little did I know how much significance that one particular letter means for us going forward. Where can we go to say and bring the question to who? The honest American, to the world, is you didn't acknowledge the ramifications. Who did acknowledge it? Is there a guide? Queen Liliuokalani. The entire text of that filing laid out the ramifications. Invasion of the rights of the chiefs, breaking of the treaties. So where can we go? The door is open there. Okay? And can we do it here? We're limited here. You know, I grew up at the end of the war, and I always used to watch all the war movies. And one, they had to talk about this, they called it crossing the Rubicon. And the Rubicon was a river. The Rubicon, crossing the Rubicon meant that you would go where they would least expect you to go. Who went with Ililio at this time? The Kuei petition. They call us Native Hawaiians, they call us this, we let them call us whatever, and then give us the money, leave us alone. We go back to the original identity of those descendants who signed that Kuei petition, and we can bring history back, like this morning was January 17th. Only a year ago, Laulani found out my grandmother was arrested and was held in the palace with the Queen. So it's no wonder that it always calls to me. Every morning, even when I'm sleeping, every minute of my life. But I like my job. Okay, Laulani. So this is able.
If I can give a little bit of context, just to kind of add on to what Uncle Liko is saying about Uncle Abel. You know, he was a real manifestation of aloha in a way that can actually move. It can actually move on the spiritual level and on the physical level. You know, I spent a lot of time working with him on Mauna Kea things, and he would come into these DLNR limiting of our sovereignty, where we're not able to achieve our independence and the truth that exists. And so Liko's honoring of the Queen with this Red Ribbons song, red ribbons being the ribbon that is tied on her protest letter that still exists in Washington, D.C., right? They attach this little red ribbon to certify that it's an authentic copy of the National Archive. And also, Liko has shared before that it is also the blood of the people that runs through all of these things and is still present. And so that protest letter that makes it clear that she never let go of our kingdom and our independence and our sovereignty and this ku'e against the United States was something that he took from his song, made it into a song, and then used that song to protest, and then took that and actually went where we followed the Queen's path in all the way across America and ended up in Washington, D.C., where he refiled her letter with the Department of State. So it's that kind of thing. It comes from song, and then it comes from history, and it comes through story, and it goes back to the people who are oppressing us and says, hey, we're here, we're not going away, and we're still fighting. So anyway, I just wanted to give that a little bit of that context to the red ribbon. But I think that it's very important to understand that Liko has been through so much, just to kind of nutshell a little bit, he's talking about how Abel has been arrested so many times, and that is true. And Liko's also been arrested many times in, Kalama Valley and Kaho'olawe and Mauna Kea and many other places, and also has challenged with the power of song, has challenged the system and the existing powers and the power of truth, to the point where he's also had to run for his life and has survived assassination attempts. And I'm just saying these things because I think that this is the background story that people don't realize, that music isn't just a nice, non-threatening thing. Okay.
Yeah, you got to be careful sometimes in the yard. You pick up something and get one black widow underneath there or something. Nevertheless, my thoughts right now are reflecting at this first half of this year. Okay, here we are. The generation is back. The tail is still on the mo'o. Thank God they didn't cut it all off. Otherwise, we would not be here. We had a great first half. Twice, the thief standing in judgment of itself was not able to do that. I'm talking about the military leases. Why? What happened? What made that turn in that way? Presence of the Ohana, honesty, being consistent, calling upon them to do the good job. So even them, when the staff came out on the last one for the federal EIS, they had to say no. It says a lot about where the governance system is. They're starting to realize that they don't even have the authority to be sitting there to receive the petition in the first place. So in the first half of this year, they couldn't even kick a field goal. And when that occurred a few Fridays back, just prior to that coming up, The first one was Puhakuloa was great. Yeah, but are they going to come back? Yeah, it seems like they're going to come back. So how safe are we until they come back? So it's not enough to just take it to that point. Well, we'll be back next year. We had to address in the gardening project, we came to realize that the ones who they're going to for this permission to come in, they got rules too. But it's the imitation. They don't represent the Crown Land Commission that's really there for us. And what does that mean? Self-determination. The two things that the apology resolution points out that is occurring. Suppression of inherent sovereignty and deprivation of self-determination. So the first one for Puhakuloa was pretty emotional. I just came in, I told the DLNR board, because I had asked the chairman there. I went up there and asked her, now, Chairman, are you a State Historic Preservation Officer under the U.S. Code Title 16? She kind of looked at me. Yeah. So if that is the case, then how are you certified? See, the thief can't certify itself. So they got pukas in their armor, okay? They got cracks in the walls. And the fact is that the state and all the county governments are not properly certified under U.S. statutes. And that is what was filed, to actually request that chairman to do her job to inform the Secretary of Interior that we need the discretion to determine whether or not there are major inconsistencies in historic preservation. What is the significance of historic preservation? That's the port of entry. Before we had ports of entry, you had to get off the boat, come in. Now the port of entry is at the tax map key. Keyed only with no determination of ownership. But none of the government buildings are certified property because we are the chief governing authority. The chief governing authority is Hawaiian law set by Hawaiian judicial precedent. And when I gave that letter to the chair, they know where we're going. That particular entity is perhaps the most important entity to keep the pressure there. That's where we as a Lahui belong. Earlier, Keanu Sai was talking about when are they going to enforce it? When are we going to enforce it? When are we going to put our line and say, assume this is the request, and it was very clear to request of the chairman to do your job. I am requesting from you because you work for the federal government to get your boss over here, because I'm telling you, you're not certified to conduct any of this. And what's so important about historic preservation, that is the most egregious thing that you can do under the laws of war, is to dig up someone's graves and disrespect their family honors. And we have totally, that is what has torn us apart. And it's within our grasp. So looking at the second half, that's what I'm looking at. When Laulani and I went to Washington, D.C. in October, there was one office that I went to look for specifically, and that was the House Oversight Committee. Why? Because they can impeach federal officials.
Liko,
Okay.
can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so given these all of this that you're sharing, what is your vision? And I should say we should probably move to question and answer pretty soon. But what is your vision? Because I kind of happen to know that you've done a lot of writing and a lot of drawing up of a really wonderful vision for Hawaii for the future. Can you share what the parts of that you can share, what that looks like?
taking it to what it looks like is crossing the Rubicon. The Rubicon is a river. It was an obstacle in World War II. No one thought that you would actually go into the territory of what was an enemy and go there and bring the issue to them. People are not aware. We need to people. For those who can do it, and you know, I feel comfortable doing it, getting the issue straight, not putting myself a cart in front of the horse, having the issue well enough defined, where I'm not speaking for myself, but I'm speaking of ourselves.
I guess what I'm asking is about when the rivers are flowing, when we actually have it back, what does that look like? Because you've shared some beautiful stuff.
Gardening is job security. Comes with the season. Okay? You know, when you're gonna go in there, okay, you flood, well, I don't know, I'll just wait till the water drops down and I'm gonna find out where all the sandy loam went, where this and that. It's putting pressure, keeping pressure, and challenging them and taking them into where you can bring consciousness and awareness to them. And truly that can go a long way. Some people ask me, well, Liko, when you wrote to the president, what did they do? When George Bush was president and Hurricane Katrina hit, Senator Inouye was about ready to do the Akaka bill through a kosher vote. He had enough votes in the Senate. But there was one kupuna on Kauai, his name was Sani Waialeale, who coming down the river realized that why is he paying the state to lease his dock from the river that his family and the mountain that his family is named after? So he told the state, I'm not going to pay you, and don't you touch my boats. Well, sooner or later he came to me. On his signature, he wrote a letter to George Bush. Had all the familiar, a lot of it's like a cooking show. If you were to come up, anybody come up, you're going to have the same canned sardine, you're going to have the same, you know, whatever it is, it's how you present the thing. So in compiling this information, because Hurricane Katrina came in and stopped the proceeding, which I had been tracking for 15 years since Senator Inouye at the East-West Center, the day that Pokalainui told him about being a thief in judgment of himself, okay, have been tracking what they're going to do. Anyway, put it together. I said, Uncle, you're going to sign this letter. He says, well, what do you think they're going to do? I said, Uncle, it's not us to what you do. Where we've identified the high ground. If the person in that office wants to go there, it's up to them. Let's just put a high ground. So he says, but I said, Uncle, you got to introduce. So he says to President Bush, he says, when I was a pilot for so-and-so airlines in Texas, I met a beautiful woman who was my wife. In Texas, where a man's word was his bond. When we sent those 4 packets, one to the United Nations, one to the President Bush, and 2 copies to each Judiciary Committee of the United States Congress, 4 days later, President Bush announced on the radio that he would not sign the Akaka bill. And we were sitting at the TV in front of it. So any people who say it doesn't matter, everything matters. Okay? Everything matters. At least we didn't have the Akaka bill. Now we have another conspiracy, and it's all laid out. Okay, we got fortification, apology. There was no apology. They used the United States as a scapegoat to hide the thing. Okay, has things got better since 1993? No way. They've totally come in and totally collapsed our culture and everything. Okay, what the?
Well, I think we should move into question and answer so that we have a little bit of time for that. So
yeah, and people, somebody who would like to say, you know, something. What do you think? You know, here's the thing. It's just what I'm working with right now, and please feel free to. Hey, Terry. Terry. Yeah.
Hey, Terry.
Aloha. Thank you so much for your mano'o and for being here. Mahalo so much for presenting and giving us the historic background. I really appreciate it. What I wanted to say is just last year I was at Makua, on the Big Island, and there's people don't realize all of the destruction that has gone on, like at Pohakuloa, you know, and a lot of people don't even understand the destruction that has been right here on Oahu, like in Makua Valley. In Makua Valley, if you go to Makua on the Waianae side, and you try to walk up to the mountainside, you can't, because there are bombs. And there's still artillery or small bullets that are in the ground. And then if you try to swim out in Makua to the ocean side, there are bombs on the reef. So this destruction that has been going on must be announced and realized that we're not going to take it anymore, that this stuff has to be cleaned up, whether it be the Big Island, whether it be Kaho'olawe, whether it be, you know, like on Oahu. The cleanup is very, very important. Yeah. And the jurisdiction of these places is as under our jurisdiction, not theirs. Right. You know, and I think that's a very important point that you're making out today.
Yeah, I'm really glad. Thank you. Terry and I were arrested at the 5th landing on Kaho'olawe.
Yes.
Okay. I'm really glad you asked this question. Okay, where do we go? Accountability. Okay, accountability. How can we, in other words, somebody comes in and try to pull a fast one, and that's what the Army was doing in these last things. But it gets to the point if you're watching a Hollywood movie, and all of a sudden, and the guy says, "Well, case dismissed," and all of a sudden, the bailiff stands up and says, "Sir, excuse me. Would you please come here? I want to find out where your command is, who are you, and since you brought it up, then you're the one who's responsible for all of this. Is that correct, sir?" "Yes." "Then would you please come here to the table? We need to go there, and in the process, the only process, I don't know, there's a lot of different process for resolving issues and issues that happen between nations. Right now, one of the processes under the law of nations, and I mention the law of nations because the myth of this overthrow, we have to kind of put it to bed. There was no overthrow. Okay? In a sort of a emotional sense, yeah, overthrow, they took it over, but technically what really happened? When Lili'u yielded to the superior forces of the United States, she invoked a treaty of protection. And that is our standing enough to where we can even have our own standing army. And there are others who can speak and have spoken to that. When we assume our responsibilities, when we realize that we're not all going to work in the lo'i, maybe we're going to put our standing army together. Maybe we are going to effect our rights and duties as a neutral power under Geneva 5. Okay. These are things that only we can do. So as I was preparing for the last hearing at the DLNR, something told me, I had this strange dream about finding a crystal skull on the beach. And when I got up from that dream, it appeared in my mind that we don't have to play that game. They said no because they're saying that we've been held. How can the DLNR enforce this? That's the question. Is there the enforcement? No. Who is the enforcers? Us. Where is our process? The United States, the powers that be, they chose to use the process of congresses and conferences as a method of, let's sanitize this crime scene. It's looking bad for us, so they use this process. Instead, they made it worse. Okay? So that's a process we have. There's other processes besides that process. Sometimes we got to get out on the land. We have to actually occupy, and we have to, like the ladies one 2 weeks ago, okay, here we go. January 17th is like this morning, okay? The island of Kapa'a. 2 years ago, I was an intervener for some developers who wanted to use Kapa'a. And it was a kind of a Rip Van Winkle story, because 10 years prior to that, I had filed as an intervener because I knew those were crown lands. It was Koloko'oka Maile, Oana's mother, who showed me where all the crown lands were. So I knew it was crown lands. Sure enough, the developers come. That was all my position was. These are crown lands. These are crown lands. We never got to that issue, but eventually the developer pulled out. They are back. Okay, they're back. So what are we going to do this time? It comes to me. Okay, what are you going to do? Is it going to be good enough? Are we ready to take possession of our lands? Okay, and how we will go about doing that? So Terry, that's really. I remember, being arrested with you together, and what happened in our case? Auntie Emma, she went and got Jaime Greenstein, was dismissed. Well, what happened? Did they dismiss ours? Why didn't they dismiss everybody else's? Well, you gotta be careful, says the spider to the, the fly. Sometimes you go in the system and they're gonna wrap you up like a fly. It's like Lord of the Rings. But this is the return of the kingdom. So, it's funny how little movies like that. But anyway.
Luella has a comment. I wanted to just note that he's talking about Auntie Emma DeFries, who is also a great hakumele, great songwriter, and also a great part of the movement as well. She's, so he as a bard of our movement comes from a lineage of bards who have taught him too, and are teaching all of us now. So just to kind of note that about Auntie Emma being part of that lineage. And Luella has a comment.
Yes, I think I'm going to take this out of context, but I hopefully not. First of all, I want to say that Lili'u, Queen Lili'u, was a Tahitian woman. And that is so important to me. It's because so was my grandma. And now I'm looking at things that happened prior to Kamehameha first and his unity. I'm looking prior to that. But what's happening here is, and I hope you can comment on that, we have Mauna Ala in front of us, where all our li'is are buried. They're there. And right now, DLNR is just simply turning into a, what is it going to be, an ABC store, trinkets for the tourism? We're on Oahu, we're not on Big Island.
I think I have some information that can add to what you're saying about Tahitian and whatnot. While I was on Kauai, there was one kupuna who met one day with the military, came in. His uncle, this is Joseph Manini, Punile Manini. And he filed some documents with the Interior Department and had done extensive research. What we are dealing with is Te Moananui o Iwa. All of our relatives within the Polynesia. Okay. So Tahitian Samoan, we are all this kinship, linguistic, and bioregionally connected people. And of course, in 1893, that alliance that we had, that continuity in stewardship of PONO and using the resources for the greatest advantage of people, for the greatest, not just for us, but for the world, was in practice. Now we all know what happened when the canoes came. Okay? That was like, well, you know, welcome home, gang. Okay, this is Hawaii Kinui. So we should not be putting at arm's length with that. But because we are the primordial nation, we are the indigenous people, all those resources are there. We have first use, occupancy, okay, prior rights of use. So we should not be afraid of that because they, you know, because we're going to alienate parts of our family that, especially now in the time of the demilitarization, here we're looking at in what's happening in Hawaii, that unity with them and sharing space. My walk about the human rights thing happened 1968 in Kwajalein, not in Hawaii. When I went to Kwajalein to work, I never saw people treated forced to live under martial law. Okay, that's when I saw. All these years later, 50 nuclear bombs. That's what we're dealing with. Okay. Can we address it? Yeah, we need to address it. Yes. Okay. So I don't know if that, you know, can lay some unity. To me, us unity is the thing now. How long? If we talk about Tahitian, let's talk about Hawaiian homes, and let's talk about the Poi. Yeah, you know. Okay, I can hear brother is. Don't forget the Poi, bro. Mahalo. So
our newest member of the Bard family. So we're just about to the end of our time, but maybe quick comment.
Aloha. Once upon a time, at Holokai, on Maui, I walked into a situation where it was going to be the first gated community development. Went to a coffee shop. The Haole and Kanaka were like at a time when the developer called in the lawyers and guards to block entry. So I went, hey, I know how to get through that. Brought an empty notebook, went to the lawyer and the guard and went, you know, you can personally be held accountable. And I forgot which law. They opened up, I went in. A few months later, a Pohaku Okane Ohoroka in Ua Gulch told me who it was and where to put it, which I did. Auntie Maddie Shaw, Auntie Ho'opai, and Auntie Sarah Kuloi became a Kapuna council, right? Auntie Sarah got the vision, Auntie Helen did the interpretation, Auntie Maddie did all the paper. So whatever she did to fire, it brought everything to a halt. I simply put Pohako Kane, where I told you to, planted Tiki of Kane, and Timali taught me some pule. I could put a council just every day for 3 years. With the rising of the sun, stopped everything. You know, so to go ahead, you need an ahu, you need living custodianship. You can tag team, right? Because not all of us are free enough. Every single morning, no matter what, to stop whatever they're doing, when Keokua say go over there, and then you meet somebody, right? And then to have a zero club, use an umbrella to protect everything, right? So we can go forward. We just have to anchor ourselves, a pule,
I think
What happens?
one person I want to bring into from Kupuno status is Gwen. Gwen Kim, Soli's Neo's wife. She says, you can always count on them to do something stupid. So I think that's about where we're at. We'll wait until the next time that they're gonna do something stupid, and then remember the stupid things that they just tried to do and follow up on those stupid things and hold accountability, bring consciousness, and go and have a presence. Step up. Step up. Okay? And, tag team, because, this we can do this. We can do this. And that will build our unity. That will build our capacity, to mobilize ourselves, not just to show up to protest, but to take responsibility and to say in there, let me see your book. How come page 9 is missing? Oh, I didn't know page 9 was missing. Right, because the prior administration took out page 9. Primarily through the process of deletion and semantic distortions of historical fact to create myths is one of their great tools. So you just throw some pakai on that and take the ground. And take the ground. It's ours for the taking. And bring them to light. They can either come to the light or turn the light off, give up your key. It was significant to end up inside of Ali'i Illnomadic during this celebration. Ali'i Illnomadic, because I go to like Grandma and Grandpa Wikipedia, right? Okay? I go, wow, I didn't know that can be our seat of government. We're there. So Leon and I went there to actually sing All Hawaii Stand Together from in there in the United States, in the Supreme Court of the Hawaiian Islands. Okay, they know we're coming. They're already starting to do this. Hoping, well, I don't know what their hope. We give them the benefit of the doubt. But the book doesn't lie. Okay, Hawaiian law is Hawaiian law. Judicial precedent, Hawaiian is Hawaiian judicial precedent. When the Supreme Court of the United States, when OHA and the state of Hawaii sued each other, and the Supreme Court said, why? What are you asking me to do? Oh, we want you to take the apology resolution, sanitize the crime scene. They're lucky that they didn't get sanctioned and arrested for frauding on the court. Because the court told them that the United States Supreme Court has no jurisdiction to affect Hawaiian law than what gives the fake state of Hawaii the think that they can neglect to enforce Hawaiian law or fudge around with it. I think the big issue with us is we're dealing with apartheid, we're dealing with a big aui, and that is called a Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, which is the divisive force in our lahui. Patsy Mink, I kind of close with this. Patsy Mink was a very close friend of mine because she always showed up at the anti-war rallies. Few people know this. She was invited by Senator Inouye to come and testify on the Akaka bill thing. And she makes a note, these are written comments, she makes a note and she says, well, I'm from the House, so but I've been invited here, so this is what I'm going to say. This issue has to do with the Kanaka. Kanaka, Patsy says. And it also has to deal with the Native Hawaiian. She makes that distinction clear. The Native Hawaiian distinction is apartheid. And that is something that we need to deal with, and we struggle with that. Okay? So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. You can either trim the grass, you pull the seeds off, come with the lawnmower, or you bring your pick and you dig it out by the root. That one we need to dig out by the root. How dare them come in and say in here and tell us, you know, Koipuna and I were in Washington, D.C. when they started the Akaka bill, and the Washington Post put out an article. And they were talking about the Akaka bill. And they described the Akaka bill and took us back to Nazi Germany. And they brought back the words of Heinrich Himmler, who in Nazi Germany said, "I will tell you who a Jew is." They're trying to tell us who we are. That's how deep we will have to go.
So is this online database or like this book or more?
So,
Mahalo.
so mahalo to everyone to be here. And of course, if there's anything that I can do in my little, thing, feel free to call upon me. And thank you, Laulani. If it wasn't Laulani had, called me when they were going to do that thing, and I was, about when Oha started the thing. Thank you, because you just kind of brought me into a part of my life that I needed to come. And I pray that I will be able to serve well, and for the blessings of you to guide and, respect all your kupunas. Aloha to all of you who come here from all over the world. Just like one of the things that's coming into the letter, gotta come on the board. This is in the latest draft to the Commander-in-Chief. It would behoove the President and his executive cabinet to be aware that the Hawaiian Kingdom was the first Christian nation. When they saw, our kupunas saw themselves in the Hebrew translation of the Bible, Revelations is time for revelations. Okay. Aloha. Aloha to all the people of the lands. What is occurring in Gaza and in other places is very sad. And what is occurring and will continue to occur here is also very sad. But we have different tools to deal with it. So, blessings for everybody. And step up, and we're gonna go play some music now in a little while. So anyway, thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Mahalo to Iulai, because he called me on Abel's birthday. I was in Kau when Iulai said, "We don't know who the thing is going to be." So that's why I went volunteer, because I get a lot of fish in my cooler. I need to bring them to the dock, and you folks take a look at it and see what it feels like to you.
And the county of Hawaii chose Liko's birthday to tear down Abel's house. They go, oh, that's incident.
Love my
He's
job.
off island.
I love your job. Okay? So, aloha to all your families.
Through the rough times and all that you've been through, Liko, all that you've brought up, all that you've lifted up for so many people, and all that you've experienced, and all the battles that you fought. Mahalo.
Well, and in recognizing that, I'm looking over here and I see Leon Siopukala Inui. Leon was there at the Iulai Hale. He's been doing tremendous work dealing with our ohana in Polynesia, and to be supporting what many of you already know is on the block. What happened in 1959? What about the statehood? Or was it just another imposition under the guise of a protectorate of another provisional government of which we do not have the power to defend ourselves again, which duplicates what happened by the Committee of Safety, who formed the provisional government to proclaim the Republic of Hawaii. President Eisenhower proclaimed the fake state of Hawaii upon the requirement of equal footing, our footing. We are the one to bring, it is our time to bring it up, and that's it. They'll either put their back away or get out of the office because it's our office now.
To have one last round of oh Hawaii stand together is now and forever to raise your voices and hold your banners high.
That means your feet and your stick on your family, your recycle can and everything. Aloha ka hae forever. Generation to sing and praise the glory of our land. Yeah. Don't wait for them to do the next stupid thing. Come on. All you folks, honor me up here. It's just like Mr. Honor, all of you who we've walked together, we've cried together, you know, and let's just support each other, call upon each other, find the little actions that we can go to support each other, and bring love forward, PONO and righteousness. You know, give yourselves a hand. Thank you.
Mahalo, Liko, and Laulani. I have a quick announcement. It's a late addition to the itinerary for this kuka tent. At 2:15, there'll be Japanese and Okinawans for Ho'oi'ea. Law Professor Mari Matsuda, Logan Narikawa with JACL, Japanese American Citizens League, myself, Kyle Kajihiro in Ethnic Studies, and Sam Ikehara in American Studies. We'll be talking about solidarity from the Asian community in Hawaii for Hawaiian independence. So join us. Thank you.